Hey, everybody, welcome back into the Horseshoe Lounge. We are at Roosters. It is a fun, casual joint, and it is a delightful Monday in Columbus, Ohio, to talk about the Ohio State Buckeyes, where there's not a whole lot really going on, except for one major addition that Bobby spoke into existence last week. That's Zach Boren, Bobby Carpenter, Nicole Cox, I'm Austin Ward, and James Laurinaitis is back. You did it, Bob.
Bob, you knew it.
I didn't know
you
it.
knew it.
I didn't know it. I was hoping.
I told him last Monday that it was happening, or in the works, not happening. And then Bob took it from there because he's become the ace closer recruiter.
I think maybe Hardline might have sealed him in. I mean, can he put James down as one of his winners, talking to one of his classmates? I mean, those guys came in together, and I think there was some steam to get him back here. I think he was always willing to come back. At least I believe that was the case. But there always needs to be, reach out and who's going to be the one talking. And navigating these situations is tough because when it's your school. And I think James would have preferred that he started his coaching career here. Mm-hmm. And instead, when your best friend asks you, hey, I need you to come up to Notre Dame with me, get this thing going. It's my first job. Okay. Well, so you go and do it. But I think he probably, with his preference, would have probably rather stayed in Columbus and done it here at his alma mater and got his feet wet with this. But it's always unique because he really doesn't know Ryan all that well. And, he knew Carrie Combs a little bit. Carrie's now gone. It's just figuring out, is it going to be a fit? And trying to figure out the culture there. And I'm like, man, and that's I talk to them a little bit, and not what do you do, just what's Ryan like, what's Jim Knowles like. I'm like, okay, I mean, there's a lot of similarities between kind of how Ryan Day handles things and Tress handles some stuff, And I'm like, I think you will enjoy kind of the way he operates and the way they kind of go about things. Jim Knowles is really smart, and he's a hands-off guy. Hey, go do your stuff. We'll have a collaborative plan. But like, he runs a really unique defense. I think you'll really enjoy that. And I like the way he's a different dude. He's just, kind of looks at the world differently, which I think James appreciates. And, I'm like, if that's something, like, hopefully, and I guess it all worked out. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'd heard that there was guys, and this isn't confirmed, but, a couple of the guys on the staff maybe talked to him when they were going out on the recruiting trail or whatever it was. But as far as, James knows ball, he can communicate ball, and he cares a lot. And so when you have those three things, that means you have the ability then, I think, to be a special coach. And, and the other piece of it, Jim Knowles coaches, he's the coordinator. He'll be able to, James will be basically running the linebackers. And then, also the recruiting element, playing here and his ability to relate. And I think hopefully bolster that linebacker recruiting room will be a huge asset.
There's just so many similarities between James and Hartline. They played here at the same time. I think when that position came open, Ryan looked around, and James showed interest last year. And obviously, as Bob said, I think he wanted to start here at his alma mater from the coaching standpoint. His family loves Columbus. I mean, he was building a house here in Columbus. And I think just the way things went about, he obviously went to Notre Dame, and then knowing that the opportunity was there to come back to Columbus, where his family loves being here. He's got 3 girls. All their friends are here. Nothing against South Bend, Indiana, but it's not Columbus, Ohio. And then from Ryan's standpoint,
I think we can talk trash on South
Bend.
Yeah,
fair enough. And then you look from Ryan's standpoint, obviously having to fill that role, you look at your new OC and Brian Hartline and where are the similarities. You're like, man, this is a guy here who's an All-American, college football Hall of Famer, guy who played in the NFL for a long time, is going to be great with recruits. Fills a position where you need a GA or someone in that spot to own the room because, as Bob said, you have Jim Knowles as a defense coordinator, and I think, especially after the last couple games last year, Jim's going to be spending a lot more time with the entire defense instead of just the linebackers, so you needed someone who had the capabilities to come in and run the room like it was his room, and that's just, it's James Laurinaitis. It's a perfect hire. It's great for James, great for Jim, great for Ryan Day, and great for the program.
He is. James is a great leader, a very kind person. I think he's going to do phenomenal in the role. And I think, too, him going to Notre Dame, I sometimes think that's a great thing. I mean, maybe he'll be able to bring some things he learned from there here to help improve things and just to give him a bigger perspective on the position. I think it's always good to kind of get out of what you're used to and just see, learn new things. So
yeah, I mean, you also have to find out if you really want to do it. Zach's talking about the parallels with Brian Hartline, and these guys have certainly been asked a ton of times, are you going to get into coaching? It's a big leap. And
it's a full-time job. Man. It's not, you don't just dabble in it.
Yeah.
right.
toe in the water. I mean, it's
You're all in.
And it's a
It's a
you're all in
lifestyle.
for your whole family.
Your wife. That's
Yeah.
it's just a lifestyle change.
Yes.
Especially in college football, with the other part with the recruiting. I mean, if you want to just coach ball, NFL is probably a better spot to do that in reality because you're going to have some time off built into that. Anymore, you're supposed to have dead periods in college football recruiting. Those don't really
Doesn't
exist.
happen.
Like, you're going to be texting and DMing 365 days a year.
James a big DMer.
Sliding into the DMs.
Huge social media guy.
Yeah, he's gonna have to start. He may not like it, but he's gonna have to do it. So that's also a good point, Nicole. Like, he needed to go out there and find out. Ohio State's not a place you can get on the job training, and I wouldn't necessarily consider Notre Dame to be that either. But he found out that he wants to do it the same way that Brian Hartline did after 1 year. Like, I can do this. I can be really good at it. And then you take that experience and do it where you really want to.
It's a little bit of proof of concept. I mean, I think, James is smart. He's a good player, but that doesn't always translate. The difference is, James is a relentless worker. No one would define James Laurinaitis as like a phenomenal athlete. He's a good enough athlete to be a really good football player. And the reason he was good is because he really worked at it. And so guys who really work at it and love the game and then have that ability to transfer that knowledge, that's the other thing. And the biggest thing of this, I think, is people, who maybe don't know James. He's an egoless guy, and that's really important. I think that's probably what will resonate the most is, when he went there, I think he had opportunities potentially to be, whether it's the linebacker coach or whatever, like a full-on staff position. But, hey, I'll do whatever it takes. I want to come in here. I want to start at the bottom. I want to prove to people that I belong, not just because I was a good player, this or that. I'm friends with the head coach, and working his way through that. And so the fact that he's not entitled with anything, the same way Hartline came in, and it'll be blatantly obvious early on about how good someone is at what they do. And I believe you'll begin to see that with James, and the fact that he's not out there trying to run the show. He will do whatever it takes, but his knowledge will transcend it, and people will see that communication and how guys will gravitate toward him.
James is also a smart guy, though.
Yeah.
You look at he may have been offered a job at Notre Dame, whatever it might be, but you also look at Ohio State. That's where his heart was. We knew before last season he took the Notre Dame job, he really wanted to be at Ohio State. You look at the defensive coaching staff at Ohio State, Larry Johnson, who, let's be honest, is probably on his last year of coaching, right? So there opens up a contract.
Should be past it.
Yeah, okay. But you know what I'm saying. And then you've got Jim Knowles, who, when he takes over or when he coaches the entire defense, he could slide into the defensive line coach. And let's be honest, Jim Knowles isn't a young chicken. You know what I'm saying? He's a great coach, but who knows how long he's going to be around. If James comes in here, as Bob says, he is a tireless worker. He will show those guys early on what he's capable of doing. It only opens up more more openings for him down the road.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? From maybe coming in here and being a DC, maybe having the experience to follow Hartline if he ever got a head coaching job. Like, there's so many opportunities that it's opening up for James as taking this job.
Yeah, you always want to be developing the next wave of talent, whether you're at Roosters like Nicole Cox or
so
Ryan Day,
so
Ohio
much
State.
development.
It is. I think, I say that almost on every show, just learning as much as you can and constantly wanting to learn and grow. I think that's what makes people the most successful at their careers or jobs or, in sports positions in college. All the guys that are the most successful are the ones that are constantly working hard, putting in the extra effort. And the fact that you say he's egoless, I think is the word you used.
Meaning without ego.
Correct. You know how much I love that too.
Yeah.
I love that. And I think that's a lesson to all the players too. When they see their leader that's acting without an ego and just more focused on being the best he can be, they're going to follow that and realize they're going to learn that as well, which is great.
Speaking of being egoless and growing, we have an elite appetizer here. Appetizer Tuesdays, $3 featured appetizer all day long. And so what we do here, we take a traditional side, the curly fries, and then we grow them and church them up into the cheesy bacon curly fries as an appetizer. Take it to that next level. They're delicious. They're cheesy. They're gooey. They're going to be great. And listen, folks, we've got some unbelievable Super Bowl pre-ordering stuff, I believe.
We do. Yes, so Sunday, February 12th for the Super Bowl, which, are you guys excited to watch that?
Not as excited.
Not as excited.
I would have been more
No.
excited if the officials hadn't been aiding the Chiefs' efforts.
Aiding and
last-
abetting.
Yeah.
You guys, I'm sad about it because last year just was so exciting. I mean, it like every single day of the week, you just felt like, oh my gosh, the game's coming, you know?
Yeah.
Now it's like,
Just wait until Berm gets on.
Oh,
the second half.
gosh.
I know. I thought of him. It was just.
Could there be any two worse teams? I mean, if you're an NFC fan, just an NFC fan, you hate the Eagles. If you're an AFC fan, let's be honest, you hate the Chiefs. Like, unless you're a fan of Philly or Kansas City, you hate this matchup. You hate this game.
It will be
Bill Landis is sitting behind the camera booing Zach Boren if you haven't picked it up yet.
I mean, Bill's an Eagles fan. If you are a fan of a team in the NFC, you hate the Eagles. Let's be honest. There's no I'm kind of pulling for them. I enjoy watching them. No. If San Francisco won that game, there would have been people like, man, I feel vested with the 49ers. I want them to win this game. Now, like, I don't even care.
You got Brock Purdy and Nick Bosa. So you felt like there's a very prominent player playing a big role from Ohio State. And the Bengals have 47 Buckeyes out there. Like the Eagles have Trey Sermon, I believe.
They do.
I don't think there's any. Is there anyone on the Chiefs?
No.
I was like scrolling through my mind last night. I couldn't think of anyone. So it's just that element of the rooting interest kind of goes away. But
it really shows though that the TV networks really don't take over in those situations. Because I'm like, I just feel like the game would have been so much more watched.
I think the NFL.
I think the broadcast networks did put their thumb on that one. I mean, I'm deep into the conspircy theory for the Chiefs and Bengals.
You don't think
you're
more people?
You're in Ohio, so
that's true.
The two biggest markets. Well, I said that, I mean, you got Philly and I'm honestly amazed that they didn't put Philly and San Fran at the primetime game to bring in the West Coast.
Yeah, I'm kind
you
of
have two of the biggest markets, but I think that's the thing about the NFL, that it transcends markets, where you look at baseball, basketball, hockey, and even college football to a certain extent. Like people like Joe Burrow, like they're tuning in to watch that all across the country. You have Cincinnati, Ohio, which is not a massive market relative to Philly and San Fran, and Kansas City's not that big either. You know, and one of the other teams everybody wants to see in there was Buffalo. So you have those elements of it.
But so my question is, the Bengals they've been to 2 Super Bowls.
3. Last was they've lost the Niners twice in the 80s, and they lost the Rams last year.
Okay, so 3 total. Don't you think people would rather watch a team that hasn't been there that often?
I think.
Yeah, but there's so many storylines to Philly and Kansas City, right? You got
Andy Reid, coach.
Kelsey Bowl.
Yeah, you got Kelsey. Andy Reid, right? You've got the Kelsey Bowl. You've got first ever matchup between 2 African-American quarterbacks in the Super Bowl. There was a 4th one that I saw this morning. I totally forget. There was like 4 big storylines around this game.
On this,
yeah,
I do appreciate that.
I forget what the 4th one was.
Cheesesteaks versus barbecue. I mean, classic.
There you go, Bob. See, that's a 5th now.
Yeah.
I totally forget. But there's just a whole bunch of really big storylines around this. And so, the NFL, they're getting their money's worth.
And who else is it? Jacksonville's never been to a Super Bowl, or the Texans.
Yeah,
and
the Jacksonville Texans.
Maybe C.J. Stroud can take the Texans.
Guys, I'm telling you. I think we've got a couple things cooking for the Texans.
Okay,
are we talking draft? Are we talking draft right now?
A long way to go for that.
The Browns have never been to a Super Bowl either.
Yeah, and that I think everyone would be excited for them too, because they've been so terrible always. You know. Seriously. So I think people, even if you're not a fan, but you're right. Maybe it's because we're from Ohio. Maybe that's the only reason. But I'd be excited for Jacksonville if I watched them in the Super Bowl knowing they'd never been before.
Yeah, or like Buffalo. I think a lot of people would have gotten behind Buffalo, right? There's some teams that
have the
people
ketchup and
behind.
mustard. We need to do that at a Roosters. Do the ketchup and mustard where you just soak somebody down.
Okay.
Have you seen they have like the guns? I don't know what type of device you have that is able to spray. RJ loved it. My son, he's a huge
Super Soaker 5000 with ketchup.
But the viscosity, can you get it out of the gun?
It takes. You have to just make sure that you properly pump.
A lot of pumps.
Yeah,
there you go.
But Nicole, you didn't say what is cooking on the 12th.
Sorry guys, I got sidetracked. So early bird special order. If you call in and schedule your order to be ready between 11 a.m. and 3 p.m., you get 20% off your order.
Wow,
It's kind of a win-win. We give you a discount. It helps us relieve the kitchen, during prime time. Yep. So
you throw it in the oven, the warming drawer. I know. It's perfect.
I know. Yeah. It really is.
And Nicole, you're going to go hang out for the coaches show with Chris Holtman.
Yes.
Getting out of
I'm
here.
on my way there. Yeah. Thanks for doing the show earlier today, guys.
Emotional support.
Are you going to be able to turn the tide for the Buckeyes?
Absolutely. Okay. You know what? I didn't go to the show last week, so I'm thinking maybe I'm just going to have to make sure I keep going to the shows.
That's the problem. Bob, any rafter fall on you? Any part of the scoreboard?
No, fortunately not. But I wasn't in Indiana, so
You got to watch your head there. Head on a swivel. Assembly Hall is.
I mean, I want to know like what the liability would have been like. Should he have been maimed and unable to continue his basketball career? That's real. Like, I mean, it wasn't like it fell from 6 feet. That thing's 60 feet in the air. It's reaching terminal velocity.
Yes, it's maimed is the word. His basketball career might have been secondary to his life.
That's what I'm saying. Like, this is real life. Get hit in the head with that. You might be about as smart as these curly fries by the end of that.
Hey, easy now. Those curly fries.
They're delicious, but I don't know if they're solving any math problems, Austin.
You might be right about that. But they can.
They might. You ever done like curly fry math with your kids?
I've not.
No?
We haven't gotten to that point yet.
Oh, okay.
They can explain that.
That's like a kindergarten thing, Bob. You missed that phase in your life.
They are $3 tomorrow, which is the most important part of that. Nicole's going to head out of here. We're going to take a break here at Roosters in the Horseshoe Lounge. We're going to have Berman here to talk all about the officiating, his favorite topic, Zach's too. As we roll along in here at Roosters, it's a fun, casual joint.
Roosters has been so fortunate. We just want to be able to give some of that back to the community.
They donate to organizations that are near and dear to their heart, and we're so fortunate to have been with Roosters now for a long time.
They always go above and beyond to help support our foundation to further help veterans.
It's just a wonderful feeling to know that Roosters supports the Buckeye Cruise for Cancer.
All the folks at Roosters are just genuinely kind folks, and they want to make a difference.
Thank you, Roosters Foundation.
Thank you, Roosters.
Thank you, Roosters.
Thank you, Roosters Foundation.
All right, welcome back into the Horseshoe Lounge at Roosters, fun, casual joint. And Berm has arrived, and
what's up?
He feels great about what happened on Sunday, I imagine.
You know, I want to be very clear about something.
Okay.
The folks out there don't care about hearing us talk about the Bengals,
but they love hearing
about
you talk about
Joe
the Bengals.
Burrow.
Joseph aside, the penalty on him for unnecessary roughness was the best call the officials made the entire game.
It was an accurate call.
That was the
It was
right
accurate.
It was.
call. Other than that, it was the worst officiated game from start to finish I've ever seen in my entire life. So
it was the right call, but there were 2 holding calls on that same play that it should have been offsetting.
Right.
Yeah, it should have been offsetting.
It's,
but yes.
You know, it is what it is.
My daughter goes, "Are these refs good?" I'm like, "Well, they're in the conference championship game, so by definition, like they're supposed to put the best people. There's only 2.
Yeah.
You only need 2 crews this weekend. So in theory, I don't know.
Should have been the best.
Maybe they do. Maybe they don't do the Super Bowl. So let's say, just for argument's sake, the 3 best crews. Best is in the Super Bowl. It should have been either the second or third best crew right there.
There were so many things that happened that you're like, I'm not sure I understand. Even just, and it started at the very start, the very beginning of the game, when you call a false start on the Bengals after a play is over, and like,
that's not a real call.
I've never seen that in my life.
It's not a real call. That's why.
And you know, Burrow gets a first down, but also takes a hit because why not? Just let him get hit. And then you call a false start afterwards, and that's on the first drive of the game, and it just sort of sets the tone. But then just the little things, just every time the Bengals had the ball put down, it was a half yard.
I couldn't believe how many errors they made just spotting the ball. They would never even look at it.
Yeah.
The Chiefs' defensive linemen were lined up in the neutral zone the entire game. I mean, they got that shot right down the line.
D-forted it?
It's unbelievable, but whatever. I mean, that's football, right? Can't blame the officials.
Yeah,
Bengals didn't play particularly well.
Listen, I think the worst one was when they replayed the down. They
down.
literally replayed the down.
Replay the down. It's 3rd and 19, and then you give up, and then you get a defensive holding because the NFL just whatever.
What's the thing? I'm like, don't ever give. I'm at the point now, unless you're like taking him out of field goal range way out, and at that point, I wasn't sure. Like, if you give Simon another down, it could be 3rd and 87. All you need is a 5-yard illegal contact and some automatic first down.
Yeah, and
they can call that almost
so trigger happy to call it. So.
Well, they can call it every time. I mean, just like holding. I will say this: the Bengals held the crap out of Chris Jones a lot, but Sam Hubbard, Hendricks, like all those guys were getting held a ton, and they didn't call any of that.
You expect bad officiating to go both ways.
Yeah.
And it didn't. And that's the thing. When every call goes one way, if you ask yourself the question, if this game was being rigged for one team to win, would it look any different than it went last night? That's the question. I don't think it would. I don't think it would look any different. Yeah. And that's a hard, the Bengals' final drive of the first half, they get the ball down to the 4-yard line, and they run a quick, they try to get the line and throw a quick fade. And T. Higgins is being held the entire play. And it wouldn't have mattered because the clock would have still ran. They still would have had to kick the field goal. But what do you do? Like, how do you let that happen? He wasn't even allowed to jump for the jump ball because he was being held the entire
That's
time.
LeBron James.
But anyway, let's talk about Ohio State football.
So
here, I have a question for you.
Let's talk about Michigan football. and what their offensive coordinator. There's something with the coordinator position.
No one knows what happened.
Oh, you guys didn't touch on this last week, huh?
That's the operative word right there.
We didn't.
So
Get there.
you've got Weiss and Matt Weiss, who's computer crimes. Who knows what that entails? I'm sure we'll get a full report at some
That's
point.
the fancy name for something else.
Well,
I don't think so. I mean, let's lie. That's a
what are some
allegation.
What are some things that you could look up on your computer that would get you arrested? Because you can look up a lot of stuff.
Well, there was an investigation on it.
I'm just saying.
Okay,
I think
in your search history bar, maybe not full.
Clearly, there was something that
I forgot to flip on private mode.
Went,
no.
Obviously, it went pretty quickly from being investigated to fired. So whatever it was egregious. But I think we should be pretty careful to just assume that the guys. Whether he was changing grades, I don't know. I mean, there's
changing grades. It's not criminal, Berm.
We could, but you never know.
That's
it was
not,
the Michigan police. It wasn't. Was it the state police?
Yeah, but it was the university. That would just be an internal thing that they would talk about.
What I'm saying.
They would not want that.
I don't believe it's done, right? They haven't said that he's out of
it. Was a weird situation.
Okay.
Changing grades?
I'm just trying to figure out what
That's
else
where you went to with this?
I'm trying not to leap to the place you guys are trying to.
Well, because there's only one path to get to that place. Everything else is like
I think he would have been
morally
arrested
is morally wrong.
If
but
that is the case.
Maybe not necessarily raising to the level.
That would be
legality.
a federal crime also, and it would have been a different.
Well, nothing's come out yet.
It's not done.
There's still time.
Yeah.
And then also, then we've got.
I don't think we should go there. That's
then
all
we've got the former Broyles Award winner Josh Gaddis being let go down in Miami. Now I'm like 1 year in. I mean, he's getting paid a lot. I mean, there's some rumors that I heard down there that maximum exposure, full exposure, and thing. I don't know. I mean,
he is on South Beach.
I don't know if it's something like that. I mean, there's some. I'm like, how do you get let go 1 year?
What's interesting for them is the timing of that, though.
That's my point. It was before. If it would have been after.
Yeah.
If it would have been after National Signing Day, which is when everything always happens, which is Wednesday, then I would have said that's more along the line. But I feel like there may have been an incident or something that
they have been working for a month and a half to replace Gaddis, and there is a very local tie that probably directly relates to who Ohio State promoted as their offensive coordinator. That has something to do with Miami staff was very clearly telling some prospects in South Florida that they believed Ryan Hartline was going to be their next offensive
coming back to Miami.
That was what
was that the same people that were
players were being told that in December. Which
I love that. That's a great recruit. I know he's over here recruiting there.
But not. But we got him. Yeah, we got him.
But I do think the timing's interesting because did they make that switch now because Bama had an opening and maybe they didn't want the guy that they had circled to end up at Bama, and then they had I don't know. It's weird. But, Josh Gaddis, that's probably the quickest fall from Broyles Award.
He won the Broyles Award a year ago. I mean, like, the ink still went on it.
Yeah, but you want
to, as you get defined by speed and space. And now he's rapidly left the profession, and he has all the time in the world to relax in as much space as he wants.
As you guys said, there's something going on because a lot of those coaching changes happen after National Signing Day. Bring people in, get the recruits assigned, and then changes are made.
But I believe this is a case where the change was better for Miami.
Yeah.
There were recruits, and again, we're talking Ohio State football here on, the live show from Roosters. But the players like Jeremiah Smith, who Miami's still trying to recruit and flip from Ohio State, they watch the Hurricanes offense. They have to make a move because if they have another year like that, these kids like JoJo Trader, another wide receiver / defensive back down there, like he's not going to go there. So now you have this sort of boost, I guess, when you start the season and the offense looks good for a game or two, and then you go, see, look, everything's different now.
You're playing Florida Atlantic.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, but it's still as a recruit, Mario Cristobal already came in and said, we're doing this, this, and this, and wanted to be, and no offense, I don't know how this guy's going to do, although I don't think he's going to do great, but look at what Coach Prime's doing out in Colorado, right? Pounding his chest, look what we're going to do. We're going to do this, this, and this. And then Mario Cristobal goes to Texas A&M, which is a terrible football team, and got absolutely smacked in the face, and they went downhill after that this past season. So Mario Cristobal can say one thing, but an offense coordinator isn't going to make or break your team. It's not going to take you from this Miami Hurricanes team that it was, and then next next season be the Georgia Bulldogs
What would
or
you
Ohio
do
State
as a
Buckeyes.
former
It's just
player
not going to
Or
happen.
the 1991 U.
Exactly.
What
Come
would
on.
you do as a former player if you walked into a coach meeting, first time you're meeting your new head coach, and he goes, "Guys, call me Coach Prime." Like, what would you do?
And also, I don't want you on my team. Get out of here.
Well, he didn't say that. And everybody gets upset.
he's
It's no
bringing
different
his-
than the
he's
meeting
bringing
that
his
happened
Louis.
here. Like,
I have
hey,
no problem with.
we've got guys coming. Either you're on the team or you're not. You want to work, great. But and this is one thing, Coach. We're not doing it the same way. You know why? Because we were 1-11 last year, and we've been
Right.
bad for a long time.
But if
So we gotta
he
change.
said, "Call me Coach Prime," would you be like, "I refuse to call you Coach Prime because
Call
it's
me
weird"?
anything, just don't call me late to dinner. I mean,
That's such a weird thing. And
Yeah,
what's
but-
weirder
but-
is that like the local media, excuse me, Coach Prime. Like, what are we doing?
Do you know what's even more weird is I don't know if you guys saw this. They had official visits this past weekend, and there's a video of the breakfast, dinner, whatever it was, some kind of meal for the recruits.
prime rib.
And Deion Sanders was dancing.
Perfect.
And it was TikTok, and in the back of it, you know when you go to a wedding and it has something that's all lit up, it was Play for Prime.
Yeah, photo booth.
But
I
Play
like
for
that.
Prime.
Yeah,
Play
little
for Prime.
backdrop.
So that was the backdrop in like these lights saying Play for Prime. I'm like, come on,
As
man.
old school
Like,
football guys, does this not annoy the crap out of you?
no,
Or-
I hope they
or am I
don't
being
win a
like,
game.
Get off my lawn.
I hope they
I
don't win a
think that
game.
should annoy Colorado fans. Like that's their program.
They don't.
He's
They're all into
They've
it.
been
though.
so bad.
They've
for
been
so
so
long.
bad. Yeah.
I get that part, but like the Play for Prime, that would rub me the wrong way.
Let me tell you this: when
Yeah,
we
Play
watch,
for Prime. Like not Colorado.
Yeah,
It's Play for Prime.
Sco Buffs. You
Yes.
know,
So I watched the recruiting video, and I think it was in the spring or whenever it was, where Louisville had it at a hangar with private jets, as if like, hey, come here, this is your life. I mean, when you roll up in a Bentley and we've got some sort of red carpet rap video deal going on, like, I mean, what are you going on? Like, you think these guys?
Like, I've been to Louisville. Like, what are you trying to sell people?
That's
Here?
what
They have to leave the hangar eventually.
That's what my point is. Like,
Yeah.
I've gotten to the point. Nothing's going to surprise me anymore. And so if Deion's leaning into his lap, you're playing for me. And Boulder's a nice place. It's not South Beach. It's different. I mean, I'd probably like to go there. I mean, we were just down advances with Schlegs and Cade and Tommy and Steele. I mean, go out there, shoot some long barrel, and have a good time.
This
do
is a
some
2-year
skiing.
play for Deion, right?
Delightful.
I mean, it's a 2-year play.
100%.
Take Mario Cristobal's job after he gets fired.
100% it's 2-year play.
You get to Florida State, right? You go and you
Mike
win.
Norvell might have.
Norvell's done a nice job, but he might be in line for something bigger. I mean, you never know.
I don't know. Norvell's doing a good job. I
Eventually
think it's a 2-year play till Deion gets an SEC job that he wants, because if he wanted to get to South Florida, he would have taken the USF job.
See,
The USF job was there, and he
Yeah.
could have taken it, but didn't. So instead, he goes to Colorado. I think it's a play to get to the SEC or get to the NFL.
I would like.
Oh, Deion in the NFL.
I
would
don't
be
think he'd
beautiful.
work in the NFL, right?
No.
I think Deion thinks he would work in the NFL.
Well,
Come on, you're telling me Deion wants to keep on recruiting? Deion is
No.
trying to build something to get to the NFL.
I think Deion likes recruiting. To tell you the truth, he might be the one dude who enjoys the coach. It says play for Prime.
Play for
over here.
Prime. Yeah,
It's-
okay.
He views that as like an event. That's like a fun deal for him.
Yeah,
Zach.
okay. I get it.
He's having a good time. His kids are older. I
I
mean,
just want you to try and picture how old is Deion? So
he's like 50-something.
Yeah.
Right? I want you to just try and wrap your mind around this idea.
he was playing for the Reds when they went to the World Series.
Let's watch Wednesday.
When they're good.
We go into Ohio State on Wednesday to meet with all the coaches and do sort of the offseason, primer, I guess.
Yeah.
I want you to imagine the world and what would happen to it if we walked into that team room and there was a big play for day.
Play for day.
Play
baby.
for day.
Like-
you should ask him about that. Say, hey, why isn't there a play for day?
That-
behind you?
Just
Honestly.
imagine how far removed that is from reality.
But
And then that's
actually-
the
Yeah,
life.
but here's what I talk. But here's what I talk about Deion Sanders is Deion's not going to be the coach that's flying around grinding, going
No,
from
the
place
guys
to
come
place.
to him.
I know he's like, guys, you guys come here. I don't go anywhere. I don't recruit any. You guys come here. You can take the visit here.
You know where
what
to
I'm saying?
find
Like,
me.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna come find you.
exactly. You come find me.
I am not hard to find.
Yeah. What? So that's what I'm getting at is he's not going to, especially if they get punched in the mouth this year, which I know they got Travis Hunter. I
they
know they
go
got
6
the whatever Cormani
Yeah.
kid. I don't think that's going to make them
You know why?
an
Because
all-star
people
team.
just run the ball every play. You can
Oh
have the
my
best
God,
secondary
yes.
in the world. Their front seven's not very good.
Oh, yeah.
And I said Deion, he played. They didn't go to the World Series '95, I believe. You're a Reds fan,
Playoffs.
correct?
They
Yeah,
made
they went
playoffs.
to the league championship
That
series.
was Barry Larkin's MVP year.
Yeah, but I mean, that's how Dion's in his mid-50s. You saw when he was in the hospital and he wasn't dyeing his hair. He had gray hair and a gray beard. I mean, what are we talking about?
Play for prime.
Play for prime.
In the prime of his life.
I think that's the interesting part that Zach's talking about with the 2-year play. Like, is it going to actually – at some point you have to go coach games, and you have to win them.
He won it, Jackson.
I know, but this is
You're playing Jackson State with the number 1 recruit in the country. You could have rolled him out there by himself and probably won games.
How good is his son, Berm? Did his son play quarterback?
Travis Hunter? I don't believe he has a son.
No, not Travis. Dion's son.
I mean, I don't – he's okay.
He can play.
Can he play at a Power 5 level?
I would
functionally.
He was recruited by them. Now, has he been developed as a quarterback? I don't know. I mean, we don't know.
Berm, he can play.
He can play.
He can play.
His father's Deion Sanders.
Yeah, Bob, is he C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young, or someone who's going to dominate a college football game? No, but he can play.
I mean, his father's Deion Sanders. You know that he's uber athletic.
Right.
I don't know. I know some guys who their dads are great athletes who are not. So I mean that can.
Well, he's playing at Division I college football, and so you can assume at least that
his dad's one of the best athletes in the history of the world.
So you know that he's going to be able to at least do some things. Now, again, can he throw the football consistently with pressure in his face? I don't know. He's probably not seen pressure at Jackson State. So what do you get when you get to the Pac-12 or whatever?
Well, is it the first game of the year they play TCU or first game they play Nebraska? Which one? They either play TCU or Nebraska. That's who they play week 1 and
USC.
No, that thing got canceled.
Oh, they have a week 0 game. It's not a week 0 game against maybe Arizona State.
I think that got canceled.
Oh, did it?
I don't think they were allowed to do that.
Oh,
they were talking about it.
But I thought their original schedule I think is either TCU or Nebraska. I'll tell you what, the Nebraska game is the one. The Nebraska game is the one that I want to see. Right? I think
TCU.
They play TCU week 1.
We do have a producer back there. All right.
So there you go. What's going to happen? Coach Prime talking this big game goes, I think, to TCU as well. Correct?
At TCU,
at
then
TCU.
Nebraska,
okay,
and then Colorado State, which they'll.
Okay, but still, how are they going to be at TCU and probably get absolutely throttled and then play
their
Nebraska?
Their schedule's tough. The Pac-12 is good this year.
Yeah, well, you got Utah, or I don't know who they play because you don't play everyone, but you'll have Utah, you'll have
Oregon.
They're
in the north,
you'll have Utah and Oregon for sure. Is USC
they
in the
play
north?
Washington.
They play at Oregon in week 4. Then they go to US, and then they have USC at home, at Arizona State, Stanford, at UCLA, and then that's just the normal Pac-12.
UCLA's good. Washington has Michael Penix Jr. coming back.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oregon is returning to Oregon.
Oregon, that's what I'm saying. They have probably the best quarterbacks going back to the Pac-12. So it'll be interesting to see his play there. I mean,
Cam Rising went back to Utah.
Did he really?
Yeah,
he's like 40.
Cam Rising's returning.
I thought he had to take the year off because they're making.
You didn't see his comeback video?
They're making a new Pirates of the Caribbean.
Bob,
he is my guy.
Look up his comeback video. He released a video saying he's coming back, and it is like the greatest thing ever. I think CCR is the music that plays.
Great. I thought he was going to do the new. He's Johnny Depp's stunt double for the Pirates of the Caribbean.
No, he's back at Utah.
Let's mix
Point Break.
Let's mix in just a little Ohio State football.
Yeah, let's talk Ohio State ball.
So Wednesday, the entire coaching staff is expected to be available. Normally on
via Zoom or live.
We'll be in there.
We'll be in the building.
We'll be in the building. Normally on this day, because Ohio State doesn't sign anybody, and as Berm has reported, not expected to sign anybody on Wednesday for the traditional start of the National Signing Day period. We would talk to some of the early enrollees. I don't expect that is going to happen. We're getting the coaching staff instead, which could be pretty illuminating because a lot of them didn't speak last season. So if you could ask one question to any of them, what would it be, Bob?
Ooh, gosh, one question to any of them. Well, Kevin Wilson is no longer here.
Well, yeah, that would get you the maximum length answer.
Yeah, I mean, he'll answer the question. I think probably some of the stuff with Jim Knowles about maybe how aggressive he was calling some of the things at different points in games. Mm-hmm. Understanding, like, hey, we had some guys fall down and different things happen in man. Would have been better to maybe, I know we like to be aggressive, but mix it up a little bit more, especially, maybe when you have a lead and, whether it's the Peach Bowl or Michigan or whatever it is. I would probably go there. Maybe you could ask Tony Alford what the running back situation is going to be like because you found out a lot, and there was a lot of guys that ended up playing last year, and then you had, what's his name? He tore his ACL in the camp.
Evan
Pryor, who, is expected to be able to contribute and be back. So, how do you manage that? Because there's 4 dudes you could argue that, should be, maybe 5 that want to and should get the ball, especially if Chip
Chips, yeah.
Uncle Chip stays over there.
Yeah, and I don't see how he can at this point with all those guys back. But he wants to. That's an interesting question for Tony Alford as well. But
So that's probably the two places that I would kind of go.
I would like to know how you enter spring football with 5 scholarship cornerbacks and 12
You have
defensive
6.
linemen, and expect to get through spring
6
football.
scholarship cornerbacks, right?
one is on the way.
Yeah.
5 right now.
5
Okay.
right now, and 12 defensive linemen. That's not ideal.
They call that suboptimal.
So
I'd
like to know how that happened, and I really feel like it's something that
There's 12 scholarship defensive
Don't
linemen.
you already know how that happened?
I just think it's still unexpected at Ohio State to have 5 scholarship. I mean, they have 4 scholarship kickers, so I'm not sure I understand how that really got to that point.
Bob, you brought up a great question for Tony Alford with how's the running back room go, right? With the way Mayan Williams came on, the way kind of Travion Henderson fell off, the way Dallin Hayden came on at the end of the
Played
year.
well.
Oh my God, played amazing. And yeah, then you still have Evan Pryor. So that's a great question. But I've got multiple questions. My first one is,
how dare you?
I know, with all the linebackers,
I'm okay with it.
Yeah, with all the linebackers coming back, how does C.J. Hicks fit in? Because I think everyone realizes C.J. Hicks has to play, and I think that's a question for Jim Knowles, but also Larry Johnson, because I think the way C.J. Hicks finds a field is probably there was a lack of a pass rush last year. Let's be honest. JTT, unbelievable, but across from him, I like Jack Sawyer, Pickerington guy. But there was a huge fall off. So who fills that role? I love Caden Curry, and I think he's going to do great. But C.J. Hicks might be good in that role. He kind of reminds me of Thaddeus Gibson. He's going to have to gain some weight, but maybe just in passing situations, he finds a field there.
They tried to do that with Baron Browning, and it never worked out.
Until the NFL.
Right.
Until the NFL.
Which is weird, because now he's really good at it.
Correct. I think...
Let's not forget that Mitchell Melton,
Melton
another
back.
Another else ACL.
You get Melton back, and he'll probably play on the edge. I mean, we've talked about this on some of the podcast dailies, but I think the answer is Jack Sawyer at the true defensive end position and letting CJ play the Jack, because CJ is better suited, I think, for that. He's much more flexible.
Right, but he's going to have to be in a different role rather than just playing the Mike or the Will.
Just can't play
right? Yes, correct.
But it's also the thing, we have spring football to go, and you people can still leave after spring. I don't like to talk about guys who could transfer or should transfer, whatever. I'm surprised Cody Simon is still on this roster right now, because he's a guy with the return of Steel Chambers and Tommy Eichenberg that you wonder, man, that's a guy heading into his senior year.
He gets another year.
He could play. He could play a lot of places.
More years. Right. More years, the better.
But but it's obviously different. It's a lot of talk about CJ, obviously, in Hicks, because he's a 5-star guy and from Ohio, and everyone wants to see him on the field. But Cody played really well last year.
He was very good.
Yeah.
And you wonder where his role is, and Mitchell Melton coming back, where's his? Because they had him at the Jack last year too before he got hurt, and he was playing really well last spring. So there's a lot of moving parts.
Well, then I think your other question, and it's kind of
have him play corner.
Oh, good idea.
Yeah, there you go. I think it's kind of twofold.
Just compete with Jake Seibert for that 6 corners.
You guys brought up the D-line, and there's 12 scholarship defensive linemen, but then you also look at the safety, right? And obviously corners are thin, but there's a surplus of really good safeties on this roster that need to play, and there's a surplus of defensive linemen that Larry is playing that probably shouldn't be playing, right? So how do you kind of right-size the defensive line while also right-sizing the safety position, filling in those gaps, and finding roles for guys who probably aren't the starters? That's another question. The other one, you flip to the other side of the ball, you ask Hartline, hey, what's kind of going to be your MO for being an OC, right? You're going to establish the run. You're going to open things up. Like, what kind of OC are you going to be? And I think Ryan,
one that scores points, Zach.
I like it, but he's a wide receiver guy, right? Yeah. He's a passing guy. Is he going to pound the football first, or is he going to throw the football and build the run off of throwing it and keeping it wide open? Maybe. And then the other one is, who's the starting quarterback? Because I think there's a lot of people who think Kyle McCord is probably going to be the guy to go in the spring, but there's probably a lot of people at the facility and a lot of Buckeye fans who think probably Devin Brown is the better player.
Here's the problem. Like, the longer you're here and the more you haven't played, then all of a sudden you're just not good. I'm like, Kyle McCord, like, he hasn't really played. I'm like, well, yeah, because CJ was playing.
Yeah,
so
two-time Heisman Trophy.
So Kyle McCord was a 4 or 5 star guy coming in.
5-star guy.
I'm like, same as Devin Brown, these guys are good players. They're going to battle it out, and it's going to probably, I don't think, unless one of them's bad.
Well, that's the thing. We've talked about this ad nauseum, and we will for the next couple months, but CJ made everyone else obsolete in the last 2 years. So you didn't get a chance to see a lot of what Kyle can do, what Devin could do last year. But for this spring competition, it's very likely that Kyle's going to have the opportunity to be the starter, and he has to hold it, period. So unless he goes out and just doesn't do it, then the competition happens. But there's no reason to assume that Devin Brown should beat him out or hold what we haven't seen out of Kyle against him, because nobody's seen anything out of Devin Brown either. So why it's just this weird.
He's so much more athletic. I'm like, have you seen either one of these guys against college players?
There's a lot of assumptions being made.
But I think the question is it actually a quarterback competition, or is it Kyle McCord's job and he can lose it, or is it, hey, these guys are 1A and 1B and they are competing to see who wins the job? Like, that's a legitimate question.
Yeah, it is. But I think you'll get the answer to that in various parts. Number one, it is a true quarterback competition. Number two, it is Kyle McCord's job and he has to lose it. Number three, they will be 1A and 1B, because
someone has to go out there first, and it'll most likely be Kyle, unless at some point in the spring he's been so bad or Devin's been so good that begins to flip a little.
Yeah, but your second point there is Kyle's job and it's his to lose. That's not a quarterback competition. In my mind, if Kyle makes some mistakes and doesn't look great, if Kyle's the guy and it's his job to lose, if he makes mistakes and has a bad day, it's still his job. If it's a true quarterback competition, it's 1A and 1B. Guess what? If Kyle McCord has a really bad day and just makes some mistakes, guess what? Devin Brown's running out there the next day taking the first team reps, and then if he makes some mistakes, Kyle's back up, right?
But I think they're trying to avoid that from happening, especially in spring, because it's irrelevant in spring. So
I get that. But it's also a new quarterback. It's a new quarterback taking over an offense. The guy's got to spring ball's a time where you build your leadership, because then it leads into summer.
The way that Day has handled quarterbacks battles in the past is this is practice.
You get these.
And then
I'm not a fan of polling guys based upon day performance.
Fall camp is the second part of the battle. So it's not going to be decided in spring one way or the other, is what I'm trying to say.
Yes, you'll get, hey, this is your days, you get this, and I think, I don't know, slight edge or whatever, but I don't think they'll be pulling guys in and out. Now, maybe in camp, that's where you get a little bit more of that at that point. And maybe going back to Hartline's philosophy, maybe he embraces a lot of his inner, Jim Tressel, and we're just the punt's most important play, guys. We want to end every.
I doubt that part.
End every play with every drive with a kick. Like, we're going to.
That's his first time being an OC, though, right? It's a legitimate question. How's he want to call this offense? Does he want to open things up and let it fire, or does he want to build it off the run?
I think the other that we've kind of glossed over this is we've just looked at every skill position everywhere else is the offensive line is. There's real questions there with the people who have departed, and two very talented tackles and a center who kept everything together. And now all of a sudden you've got to replace three pieces on a line that stayed healthy. It wasn't deep, but it was one of the strengths, I would say, of the team. It played well against Georgia. And that was the reason why I think that game looked a lot the way it did. Are you going to be able to get it back to that level? Maybe not by week one, but by mid-season, they've got to be a force where they rushed on Georgia probably for more yards than just about anyone else. And they were able to keep CJ clean.
Hey, by week 4, they need to have it figured out. You're going to South Bend. I mean, the Marcus Freeman's going to have those guys ready to go. Yeah. You need to have the offensive line figured out by then. In week 1, on the road in Indiana, it's Indiana. I get it. But we've started that week 1 game at Indiana before, and Indiana's given us some fits, especially there. So
conference opponent, and when you get 9 months to prepare,
it'll be
no
at
doubt.
It'll be at night.
No doubt.
Maybe a Thursday night.
Probably something stupid like a Thursday night.
That's happened before. At Indiana, it was J.K. Dobbins' first game, right? Yeah,
Minnesota.
I'm told that's not going to happen this year because Minnesota has a home game and has to play on Thursday night for their state fair or some nonsense.
Showing pigs.
So maybe a Friday night.
So
I hope it's not a Friday night.
I think somebody already has.
Better.
I think somebody has already
even better
put tabs on the Friday night. I think it's possible it's a Saturday night game in Indiana, but we'll.
Because that's what the folks want to see.
We think it's a night game.
It will guarantee be a night game.
They'll make it a night game. They'll make it a BTN or something like that, or maybe even a 5.
It's Ohio State season.
Well, I guess if it wants to be in prime time, it would have to. Saturday wouldn't fit either because you're going to have major.
You'll have major games. That's Labor Day weekend. There will be some monster games going on then.
Friday night.
Don't
So
say
it can
that.
also be Sunday.
That's nauseating.
Could be Monday. Labor Day
No.
weekend,
Oh
boys.
gosh!
No way.
Mix it up.
Don't make it one
That
of
Monday
those.
night kickoff.
You
with
can't
the
make it
sequence.
important just
It's
by
that
putting it at an important time.
It's that classic Sunday 6:30 p.m. start.
BTN. There you go.
No,
Hard-
isn't
hard
the
pass.
Sunday and Monday games normally neutral site games, right?
No, we
I
played
think so.
Virginia.
Played Virginia Tech,
Virginia Tech
at
and-
VT in 2015.
Yeah, that was Braxton
Oh,
Spindler.
that's right.
Yeah, you can make the rules up whenever you
Yeah,
want.
they can do whatever they want. That's the beauty of these television contracts.
There's no rules in college football anymore.
Yeah, that's right. No
Anything
rules. That's right.
Those are all your questions. So we did your work for you.
I'm good. I was writing them all down.
Go
I'll have
back
to
and
replay-
watch.
Yeah. There's one more that I think Zach was alluding to with the safeties. I'm curious exactly how the pieces fit together with Kai Stokes, Sonny Styles pushing in there. What is actually the best position for Lathan Ransom? Because some of the coverage responsibilities, I think he's had some issues there. Cameron Martinez and Jihad Carter coming in. So, as you said, a surplus.
Josh Proctor coming back.
Josh
Like,
Proctor.
The
That's
safety
6
room is
guys,
stacked.
so-
So what?
The one thing with Cam is Cam has a lot of corner traits to me, and he could play outside. But when he's on the field, he gives you a guy that's like a safety, but also a coverage inside slot guy that you can put on good receivers in man-to-man. Now, like obviously there were some issues at points last year, but I would feel very comfortable with Cam being like your third corner / safety in that defense.
But in
I
that
don't know-
defense, that third safety's there all the time, though, Bob. That's that.
Oh, they
that's that
suck.
Tanner
I
McAllister
understand
position
that.
that's out there.
Cam is a better athlete than Tanner McAllister. It's that gives-
100%.
gives him
But if
versatility.
you put Cam in that position, now you don't have those three safeties. You
oh,
have got
you
three
rotate
safeties,
in-
but
you rotate in Sonny, you rotate in, the different linebackers. It's multiple, right?
Yeah.
That's why it's time to start.
But there's still a lot of safeties.
Yeah.
And if you need those three safety positions on the field, because technically you have five, if you take Cam Martinez and put him at corner, you still have five guys that are legit dudes to fill three safety spots.
Yeah.
And Malik Hartford, the true freshman, early enrollee, who's already there, who is really good also.
Yeah. Well, it's that time. Getting already back into it. Spring ball's about a little over a month away.
Feel better, Berm?
I felt fine coming into it. I just think officials suck.
You didn't feel good.
Are you generally against the whole officiating practice, or just the people
more
that
and
do
more,
it?
more and more. I'm against it just in general. I feel like
I like it.
we could probably just get by with some AI on the football field.
Why not robots?
Yes.
Robots take over.
Let's be honest. Major League Baseball or AAA baseball, I think, is going full automatic strike zone this year.
That's
What do you
the
think?
easiest thing that they could ever do. In baseball. And
Automatic strike zone at some point. Football, right?
umpires are morons. They created their own little world back there behind the dish. Like, you just make it up as you go. It's stupid.
Yeah.
It's dumb. And also, if you're someone who's voting for the Hall of Fame and you don't want to put in Alex Rodriguez, you're an idiot. Okay? This guy, like, what are we doing?
We're letting
Out
him
of
rant.
all the-
We're letting
Wait,
him rant.
hold on.
Out of all the people,
Before we-
not
Barry
Pete Rose, not
Barry
Barry Bonds,
Bonds.
not Roger
I just
Clemens.
I saw last week they were like,
No one.
They were voting
Just
on
A-Rod.
and he had like 33% of the vote, and you had like who is that?
Rollins.
Scott Rollins.
Scott Rollins is one of the best.
He's a
third
great
basemen of all
player.
time.
He's a
Scott
good
Rowland
player.
is a clown.
He's one of the best third basemen of all time.
He's a great player.
I don't
I'm
know about
talking.
that.
Who's that outfielder for the Yankees? Not he was a
Clay.
Bernie Sanders or not Bernie? Bernie.
not Bernie Williams.
Bernie
Williams
Williams,
is really
no.
good. There was another guy.
Bernie Sanders was
Carlos
great for the
Beltran.
Yankees.
Carlos
Oh,
Beltran.
yeah.
Carlos Beltran got like 72% of the vote. And you need 75%, and Alex Rodriguez gets 34. Like, that's just dumb. Stop pretending that you're more important than everyone. Baseball, stupid.
And
All right, now that we're on this topic, though, of officiating, NFL, I just want everyone to know this. NFL officials are full-time NFL employees. Year-round, they are working on officiating, and the calls are still that bad.
no, they're not. They're part time.
No, I think they're full-time.
Did they change it?
Yeah, they just changed it within the past couple of years, I thought.
Maybe.
They went full-time.
I don't think
College
they did.
officials, though, are part-time, and that's why it's that bad. You've got NFL games that are this bad, and you've got lawyers, and
very
you've got
simple.
insurance guys that show up to a big-time college football game on a Saturday and want to make calls when they're worried about the car
No.
insurance
No,
that they had.
They're still part time officials.
they're
They
still
push
part-time.
back because those guys are attorneys and stuff, and they like doing it.
They have to make like
Make
a,
a
there's
change
a threshold.
then. Make
amount.
Yeah,
There's a threshold
was there a
money
discussion about them making full-time?
Yeah, I think they
NFL?
started doing with some, but I don't think
Okay.
it's a full
okay.
deal.
there. The problem is they they're not accountable to anybody or anything. And so when you can,
you should start finding them.
You should be able to find them.
Yep.
They don't ever give press
They
conferences.
should be
to
available
explain.
to the media after the game. Like there's little things that you could do that if you just made them accountable, instead of saying, "Oh, we can't." The sanctity of the game says we can't question their judgment. Like their judgment is deciding the game. So I think
Players have to go there and answer the questions. The coaches,
players
do.
who
about their calls.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's brutal. But plus the weekly PSA, we need spring ball in Ohio. So that's the last thing.
Cheesy bacon fries.
Cheesy bacon fries, $3. Appetizer Tuesday, all day long. They're tasty. They're delicious. They transition from a side to an appetizer with the cheese and the bacon, bringing it home for you.
And also, don't forget, if you're going to have a Super Bowl party, that you can get your Roosters order in early.
11 to 3.
11 to 3. Zach's got it.
20% off.
What could be better?
That's a hefty percentage.
It really is.
To just pick it up 3 hours early.
Yeah. They're in the warming drawer. Burma will eat it.
Bob,
down
not
here
everyone
front.
has warming drawers like you do.
Well,
in
your
UA,
oven, you just put it on like 100.
Okay.
You put it on like 100.
No one does. Maybe put it in the oven at like low, but no one has warming drawers. So stop throwing out the warming drawer.
It's the
Okay,
oven.
that's a
100
UA
the oven
thing.
at 150 degrees is the same thing.
Yeah,
For
that's
big warming drawer.
The oven is 150 degrees. That's all it is. Same thing.
Perfect.
Charcuterie.
What an amazing second half of this episode. It was so much more normal when Nicole was here. We appreciate Nicole Cox having us into Roosters in the Horseshoe Lounge for a fun, casual chat and a fun, casual joint. That's Zach, Bob, Berm. I'm Austin. We'll see you next week.